there will be a decision to be made. Stick around and try and develop within the system and be very good at understanding what Amarim's doing, or go and prove yourself, play men's football, see a ton of different scenarios, make mistakes, earn some trust that way, and almost have the noise be undeniable when you come back.
Hello and welcome to Stretford Paddock. My name is Joe and that is Stephen Howson, and today we are going to be talking about the youth at Manchester United. We saw promising, it's been sort of a debut week or so for Amass, hasn't it? He came off the bench, we've seen him start games, we saw Fredricson start games, we've seen Cheeto coming in, we've seen Amarim, not necessarily, I don't know if it's, you could say, trusting the youth or realising that he needs to rest some of the older players for the Europa, but we're seeing people like Harry Amass come in and play well, I thought, the other night.
Yeah, I thought, for me it was man of the match. I thought Fredricson ran him extremely close. I think was probably a lot of people shout for man of the match himself, and completely warranted, and a little bit out of the blue, especially when you've had Kokonki on the bench for what seems like months, and not really been given the nod, and then for Fredricson to just come in and start, and you can't say that the manager got it wrong, because oh my god, there's debuts going well, and then whatever that was, because it was levels up from that, like. For a young player coming in, you're kind of just hoping that they don't make a mistake, it doesn't affect them, and can they build into it? I think you get a lot of, when you get forwards coming in, they seem to always score. With young defenders coming in, you're just hoping that they don't make mistakes. And I said this a few times, I think by and large, the youth making their debuts never let you down. There will be outliers, and I didn't think Howson looked particularly good, to be honest, in his debut. And we mentioned the other day, you said Wheatley as well, as one that maybe didn't really shine. They are the outliers, though, because the vast majority, the sort of body of weight of evidence that you've got is they smashed it. That's the norm. It
just seems to happen a lot, that, doesn't it? Where they come. I wonder, again, that's probably a mentality thing where you've got that extra energy, the extra focus that. When you probably drive better on your driving test than you do 2 years later, kind of thing, of you focusing, every single action you do is obsessive, you're completely into it, whereas later on it starts, this is what I do, I've made a mistake, I've dropped my man or whatever. But I want to talk about how good they can be, and just generally how United maybe could do with some of these players from this exceptional group of young players that we've had. But on Amass in particular, people were using comparisons to Luke Shaw. I think they both have that sort of like chest forward kind of shuffle a little bit, the way they run. Some of the way he was striking the ball, the crosses into the box. I thought he had a sort of a culture and a consistency to them that I don't really even see from Dallo, let alone, someone of his age. You don't expect to see that necessarily. Is he as good as you thought, better than you thought, or do you think it could be this, I don't even know what you would call it, like debut energy that you seem to get? How excited are you for him?
On the debut energy, it needs a name. Debut phenomenon, maybe. I think what happens is they get told, go and play how you see the game. You're in the team on merit. I presume, I've not been told, I presume that most of the time, the only one I know that of how this happened and went down was Januzaj.
Right. So what happened there?
He got told, you go and play your game, express yourself, have fun. Right, lads, here's what we're going to do. Right. And when it came to Louis van Gaal being here, Louis van Gaal obviously had a little bit more in terms of instructions, to the inch by the sounds of things, and Januzaj was unable to follow those instructions. Right. He was excellent off the cuff, he was excellent playing on instinct, and that's what Moyes allowed him to do because he was a young player and he didn't think he needed the extra responsibilities, and that can be stuff like who you're picking up at corners, or it can just be like, I want you to do X, Y and Z off the ball. Either way, he wasn't given much in terms of that, and he was given plenty of freedom to you go and play what you want to play. I think people would be shocked at the amount of instructions players step onto the field with what they're asked to do. And Januzaj wasn't able to translate that freedom which made him so successful into playing within a structure and a system. And that probably, I think, is the case for a lot of these young players. They come in and they're told, hey, there is no pressure on you. Genuinely go and enjoy it. And I think a lot of them do. if you polled people on the back of James Wilson's debut, what's he going to do? People would have been talking about records. People would have been talking about the surety of him playing first team football. If you'd have done the same with Wes Brown in the treble season, oh my God, we got another. Yeah, and it was only injuries that stopped him. But the injuries are a factor. I still hold a belief that Timothy Fosu-Mensah might be one of the best I've seen. Might be wrong on that. If you'd have spoken to, I bet Louis would have said some stuff about Donald Love and people like that as they were coming through. Tyler Blackett, I'm probably on camera saying some stuff about Cameron Borthwick-Jackson.
Yeah.
They are academy players. When they come through, they typically...
Remember Twanzebe against Mbappe?
I still think that was a mistake. Yeah,
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Absolutely unbelievable. So how do you temper that or temper your expectations with the previous data?
Just go full Giddy Belland, fuck it.
So you like him?
Yeah, I've liked him for a while, actually, Harry. I think he plays the game with a good level of intensity, and I think that's what reminds people of what Luke Shaw used to be like.
Yeah.
Teenage Luke Shaw had a bit of a energy and a tempo, an urgency to how he played, and Harry's kind of got that nailed on. He's a tough little fucker. I thought he coped really well with Salah. That's kind of getting brushed under the carpet a little bit in pre-season. I thought he was fantastic against, pre-season version of Mo Salah, but pre-season version of Mo Salah's also tears a lot of people a new arse. So let's not just completely write it off as it was pre-season. He still has to do it. I think it's almost impossible to know. What you do know is that Ruben Amorim has just recently signed a left-back for multiple millions of pounds, arguably two, What Harry has to do, there will be a decision to be made. And is that decision one that sees him stick around and try and be number two to Dorgu? Because in a system that has such importance placed on wing-backs and such physicality placed on wing-backs, the chances of Dorgu playing 60 games a season. Dorgu also, to me, has got a touch of the Brian Robson about him, where the way he flings himself, and Rooney, where he flings himself into stuff, you think there's not a chance he'd go through the season without picking up knocks.
Or red cards like we've already seen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, on one hand, if Harry was deciding to stick around, I think he would get more games than he would expect. But on the other hand, if we sent him on loan to the Championship and he did the Alvaro Fernandez sort of thing of go and get player of the year at somewhere like Preston, that wouldn't be a bad way to develop him either. He just needs to play men's football. He's ready to play men's football.
Yeah.
And I think he's ready for that responsibility to play week in, week out. It's what do they think? And you can choose and decide, look, we're going to go to the Championship and we're going to play for Ipswich and we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to do the other. And you can get injured and never play.
Yeah.
Or the manager can change and you never play. And the system changes and you never play. Or you can stick around at Carrington at Old Trafford this year and Dorgu has one of those Patrick Evra seasons where he doesn't, like Bruno doesn't have a minute off.
Or Diego Leon comes in and looks exceptional.
I think I've got a feeling he's going to have at least 12 months to settle in.
Yeah, I would agree.
I think that there is an opportunity to be the backup left back. And at 18 years of age, being the backup left back is a great position to be in. I think his last few showings, he will have earned trust from the manager.
Yeah.
It's now just going to be a case of that. Is it stick around and try and develop within the system and be very good at understanding what Amorim's doing? Or go and prove yourself, play men's football, see a ton of different scenarios, make mistakes, earn some trust that way, and almost have the noise be undeniable when you come back.
And even, obviously Dorgu at the moment, like you said, he's got the physicality, which is a difference. He's got more experience. But he only cost 20 million. So he's not undroppable from a sort of FFP, we can't get our money back stamp. If he was 60 million, he's got to do a lot to get dropped. I mean, it's not impossible that Amass could come in and impress to that level. But again, like you said, you can never tell from 3 or 4 games. It's 20, 30, 40 games where you start to know. Because even
I think it's 100. I think 100 games is when you cross the threshold from being a rookie into a pro.
Yeah.
So I think as a teenager, you've almost got to go, right, how do I get 100 games? And the amount of learning, if you chunked it into 20, 25 game blocks, the amount of learning that you go through in those first games.
Yeah.
And we should be able to recognise and see development. I want to see better positioning at the back post when there's a cross coming in. I want to see you initiating counter-attacks. There should be almost like an MVQ of things that he ticks off.
Yeah.
He's done that. He's had 8 out of 10, 5 weeks out of the last 6. Okay. That's the sort of thing that you're asking to see from him. And can we get his arse in the gym? Can we have him doing deadlifts and
I think they said
shakes all week?
I spoke to Nathan Salt yesterday, and he was saying how Ten Hag had said about getting him in the gym. Talking about, they said the first 3 months of the season, we want to see him fill out, get in the gym. So I guess he has been, and presumably that'll carry on because he's not massive by any means, is he? But, I think that's something that they are focusing on, which is good to hear, obviously.
Yeah, one that I genuinely thought could have done it, and maybe the ship has sailed on him a little bit now, would have been Ethan Laird. Because he was one that did not need to get in the gym. He was a fucking bear of a 17-year-old.
Yeah.
I think he should have been promoted anyway with Birmingham.
I think so.
Maybe the ship has sailed on him a little bit, but if
Is
United,
he still at United?
No. If United, I don't know what the recall situation or whatever would be, or the buyback situation would be. If we did pull the trigger on someone like a Frimpong, and maybe someone offered you decent money for Delo because of his status as an international and stuff like that, and you could make a profit by flipping him. Do you like we did with Mazraoui? You flipped Wan-Bissaka but got Mazraoui.
Yeah.
What an upgrade that's been.
Yeah.
If you could flip Delo for a bit of a profit and go and get like an Ethan Laird for less than a half price, a third of the price, I'd bring him back, because just say it's Frimpong, for argument's sake. What an understudy he would be. And I think as suiting a wing-back system, sensational. Yeah. And the physical floor, he's not that tall. He might be 6'4", he might be 5'11". But in terms of his physicality, he matches Dorgu in that sense. So I think he'd be a brilliant addition to him. And again, just another one where you think, how do we let him go so cheap?
Didn't he have a lot of injuries around the time where you would break into the first team, like 17, 18? That's tough, innit? That must be so shit if you're a player. The worst possible time to have a lot of injuries. I mean, we saw Fredricson have the same thing, didn't we? Won the FA Youth Cup and was injured for 16 months or something.
He's basically not been around.
Yeah, which is obviously a shame. In terms of other players, obviously we saw Chido. He's sort of even almost a year younger even, isn't he? He's only just turned 17. If you're an academy player now that's been in this under-18s sort of circle that's won so many games in the last 18 months or whatever, are you thinking now's my chance? They're focusing on the Europa League. I might be able to get some minutes here. Would you like to see Amrim, not just Fredricson, but maybe Kokonki, maybe Fletcher, maybe whoever, Shea Lacey potentially? Are you thinking now's the chance, and should Amrim do that?
He's never going to do like half a dozen.
But 1 or 2 per game, trying different people.
Yeah, what have you got to lose?
Yeah,
you cannot score goals.
No,
you really can't score goals. Fletcher maybe. See what you can do. The likes of Ibrahimov, probably a little bit too young still, probably a little bit too far away. If you wanted to get Gideon, maybe. But, because he does kind of play as that Wayne Rooney kind of, where is he? Not really, kind of 9.5, 10. That might be a bolt from the blue. What a turn up for the Bucks that could potentially be. Shea Lacey is another one that was only recently just sort of come back from an injury. Yep. An almost copy-paste version of Phil Foden. Could he work as one of the 10s? He's very small. He is very, very small. And when you've got a bit of a small team anyway, not really anyone that's going to look after him on the pitch in that sense. Need an absolute unit. Yeah. Or 5.
Well, that's where you've got Kokonki, obviously. I know he's not an academy. Well, is Heaven an academy player? Does he count as one? Because we bought him from Arsenal's academy.
I don't think he's played any games in our academy, has he?
No, so I guess he's not. But a player of academy age, he's a bit of a unit, obviously, like we've seen. But it's an exciting time, I think, especially for Amass.
He's tall in it, but he's not jacked.
No, but he's quick and he's tall and he's a big player. Amass is the one, though, I think, for me, that is where you think we've got not a weakness in that area, but we're not particularly stacked. the starting left back from this season, Luke Shaw, I don't think can play left wing back. I don't think he'll ever play left wing back physically.
I think he's going to be a left side centre half, and I think it suits him quite well actually.
Yeah, I completely agree. So it'll be exciting to see how he gets on. Do you see Amass having, let's say, those 100 games? Do you see him getting anywhere near that for Man United?
Again, it's down to that big, massive decision, and you can make it and you can logic it into this is why we're doing this, and it can still be wrong.
Yeah.
You know, you can take a lot of care over it, and you can speak to the manager, and you can speak to Ineos and Jason Wilcox and all the rest of it. And you can have the best people in the world advising you, and then look, injuries. Even if you don't personally get injuries, like you never know. Like you never know. It takes so much to go from being a debutant that's shown promise. Because what is it? We're at 254 debutants now. It'd be nice to see how many of those actually made 100 appearances.
Yeah.
Because I bet it's very, very few.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, people probably don't consider the likes of John O'Shea a Manchester United legend, but he had 400 appearances for Manchester United. Job done.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, same with Phil Neville. Was he a Ballon d'Or candidate? No, but job done. And when he left, he went and captained somewhere.
Yeah.
That tells you that for me, if you get players through, if that's all your academy ever produced, and it didn't produce David Beckhams and Paul Scholes and Ryan Giggs and Tom Heaton's, like if it just produced Phil Neville's and John O'Shea's, fucking hell, that's mega.
Yeah, still pretty good, isn't it?
Yeah, and Darren Fletcher's.
Yeah, absolutely.
People would scoff at Darren Fletcher, but if his lads have a career like he did,
anything like it.
Fucking hell, yeah.
Yeah, there was multiple year-long spells where he was playing every week. It wasn't just like, someone's get Darren Fletcher. There was spell like that 2009-10 period. He was one of the first names on the team sheet. You can't ask for more than that, really, can you?
No, and when we absolutely bitch slapped Roma.
Yeah.
I don't even know if he scored that night, but he was unbelievable that night.
Yeah, unbelievable. Right, cheers, Steve. Get your thoughts in on Harry Amass and Fredricson, and also how Amorim should sort of structure the season.
And who next? Because there's plenty of them.
Yeah, there is. And Fredricson seems to have jumped the queue a little bit. And is there anyone else in that bracket as well? Get your thoughts in the comments below. Cheers, Steve. Cheers to you at home. We'll see you in a bit.